Hi, my name is Kyle, and along with Danielle, Grace, and Riley, we're going to talk to you today about sampling water. Now, I know you've been learning lots about all the different types of water that we have. So behind me today is the Grand River in Fergus, so that's surface water, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, really about stormwater. We're also going to talk about groundwater and how you sample that in wells. We're going to talk about sampling the water that comes out of your tap to make sure that it's safe to drink, whether you get that from your city or town, or whether you get that from your own well in your backyard. And we're also lastly going to talk about the water that's in your toilet. Yes, there's water in your toilet, and it goes down and it gets treated, and it's called wastewater. And we're going to talk about that too. So I hope you have fun. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Kyle. Hey, everyone. My name's Danielle, and first up, I'd like to talk to you about stormwater management ponds. So these ponds are strategically placed around cities. You may even have one in your neighborhood, and they're used to partially treat pollutants that come off of our roads and parking lots, like salt, bacteria, and even dirt. So some of the sampling we do is from these stormwater ponds to make sure that the pond is working as designed or engineered. We take samples on big long poles with bottles, and we try and take the samples as the water is coming into the pond, and then another sample as the water is going out of the pond. One thing to keep in mind with these, though, is even though they look like they're for swimming or for skating, they're not, and they can be very dangerous, so you need to make sure you steer clear of them. Now I want to talk to you about how we sample groundwater. So I'm not sure if any of you have seen these blue metal boxes when you're out for a walk around your neighborhood, but inside of them are monitoring wells, also known as groundwater wells. And they go deep into the ground beneath us, and these are how we access groundwater way down in the soil and rock. You might ask, how deep do these wells go? Well, it's crazy because some of them can be as deep as a telephone pole is high or as deep as a water tower is high. Another question you might have is, well, why do we need to sample groundwater? So we need to find out if the water has been contaminated or if there's any pollutants in it from different activities like gas stations or road salt and things like that. Basically, we sample to ensure that the water we're consuming and using is safe for us.
Okay, now we're going to talk about tap water. So tap water, whether it comes from a municipal drinking water system or whether it comes from your own private well, is the water that we drink. So it's very important that we make sure that we sample drinking water to make sure it's safe to drink. Now to do that, the municipality, if your water comes from a municipal system, they sample your water daily, and sometimes multiple times a day, and they do that before it comes to your tap. But if you have a private well, so if you live in the country or if it's at your cottage, and you have a private well, then it's the homeowner's responsibility to sample that water. And to do that, you use these sample bottles right here that come from the public health unit, and you take that lid off right there, and you fill it up from your tap. All right, we have a little exercise here to demonstrate to you why it's important to sample tap water, whether that's private water, private well water, or municipal water. So this glass full of blue beads represents our glass of water, and when a sample, like the sample bottle on the back, is taken to a laboratory and tested, what they do is they take part of that water and they run it through some laboratory instruments to test for the presence of different contaminants. And one of the contaminants that they do look for is bacteria, specifically E. coli. And now E. coli can be found in lots of different places in the environment, including our food, and it can make us sick. So it's very important to make sure there's no E. coli in the water that we drink. So for this exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this glass of water, and it's got blue beads in it, and we'll take a little bit of a sample from it, and we will look to see if there's any red beads, which represent the E. coli. Now this glass of water, in this part of the sample, does not appear to have any red beads, so therefore this water would be safe to drink. Now here's a different glass of water, also with the blue beads, and it looks the same as the last one, so it looks like it's probably safe to drink, right? Well, not necessarily. This is why it's important that we sample, because we can't see bacteria, we can't see E. coli with our eye. So although this glass looks like it's okay, when we do our sample, our test sample again, okay, oh, right there, we find a red bead. We find some E. coli. So that just is to demonstrate to you that it's important, and there's another one right there in the glass, that it's important for us to always get our drinking water tested, whether or not it's municipal, and in that case the municipality does that for you, or whether it's your private well at your home or your cottage. It's always important to get it tested, and you can do that if it's a private well through the health unit, and a sample bottle just like.
As Kyle mentioned, if you're getting your water from a municipal system, it's being tested daily, sometimes more than once. The water is sampled and then sent to the laboratory to make sure that the water is safe to drink. Remember Bill Nye the Science Guy? Well, my friend Riley does the first part by sampling the water and then sends it off to a laboratory where someone like Bill Nye tests it. Take it away, Riley.
Hi guys, I'm Riley with the Center Wellington Water Department. We're here this morning at Grace Pump House 1 to take a raw water sample.
To talk about wastewater sampling. So what is wastewater? First of all, wastewater or sewage is the water that comes from your sink or from your toilet, and it goes down into pipes under the ground and ends up at the wastewater treatment plant. And this is a wastewater treatment plant in Elora in the township of Center Wellington, and Grace is an operator at this plant, and she is going to show us how she samples every day. So this first video is Grace taking a sample of the wastewater as it comes into the plant. Now we're taking a look at the bubbles in the aeration tank, and wastewater plants have lots of different pieces of equipment to clean the water, and this is one of them. Grace is now grabbing a sample with the sludge judge from another piece of the treatment process called the secondary clarifier, and she uses this to get down to the bottom to get a sample at the very bottom of the clarifier, and then she transfers that into the bucket. And they use this to test the treatment process. And the secondary clarifier gives the solids in the water a chance to settle out before it goes to a polishing step, which is called the sand filters. And now we're going to watch Grace take a final effluent sample after the sand filters. So there it is right there. And you can see how clean and clear that water is. Grace is now in the laboratory. And Grace is looking into the microscope to look at the microorganisms that live in the aeration tank. And these microorganisms help treat ammonia, which is poisonous to aquatic life. And finally, we have a picture of the first sample that Grace took when the wastewater first came into the plant. And that's on the right-hand side. And a picture of the final effluent after it's been treated and just before it gets discharged into the Grand River when it leaves the plant. And you can see the difference between the two samples. That's why it's so important to ensure that all of the solids and toxins are removed from the water before we discharge it to the river.
All right, thank you everybody for listening. I hope you learned lots about sampling water, and I hope you have a great time today at the Waterloo Wellington Children's Groundwater Festival. Thank you very much. Have a great day.